I handed my best friend the key to my promotion, and he used it to lock me out. I'm Jason Whitaker, 34, project manager at a mid-sized design firm in Minneapolis. We make the kind of stuff clients brag about in glossy case studies. Apps that look like they belong on a billboard. Brand systems with rules so clean you could eat off them. It's not glamorous in the day-to-day. It's deadlines, red lines, and too much cold brew. But I'm good at it. Give me a messy project with 10 voices talking over each other, and I'll make it sing on time. My best friend, well, the person I used to call my best friend, is Tyler Ames. We met freshman year at the University of Minnesota because we were the only two people in a lecture who admitted we didn't understand what the professor meant by project scope creep. He laughed, I laughed, and we've been some version of ride or die ever since. We graduated, bounced through a couple of entry-level gigs, and landed at the same firm, North Loop Creative. Tyler's the idea guy. Loud, charming, brainstorms like fireworks. I'm the one who makes sure no one loses a finger when the fireworks go off. At home, there's Zoe, my wife. She's a pediatric OT with a calendar covered in stickers and a hopeful habit of baking when she's stressed. She calls my job cat herding with art, which is accurate and kind. 3 months ago, our CEO announced something that made the whole office sit up straighter. We were bidding on a massive account, Aurora Health, a regional hospital network with a $2.3 million digital redesign budget. It was the kind of anchor client that shifts a company's center of gravity. Whoever led it would basically become the face of our firm. Leadership will be watching this, said our boss, Nina Delgado, in the Monday All Hands. We'll appoint one project lead next month. Put your best work forward. The room buzzed. People started orbiting whoever they thought could pull rank. Tyler and I went for a beer after and made an oath over plastic baskets of fries. Whatever happens, he said, tapping his glass to mine, we don't let this wreck us. Friends first. If you get it, I'll cheer. If I get it, you'll cheer. Deal, I said. I meant it. We split up tasks like we always did. Tyler drafted the Blue Sky Why Us narrative. I built the bones, timeline, risk register, resource map, contingency plan. I love a good contingency plan the way some people love pets. One night, a week into the bid, I was at the office late doing what I always do when a project matters, arguing with a spreadsheet. The cleaners were long gone. My Slack pinged. Tyler, got a sec? Stuck on the opening. Needs your Whitaker touch. He popped into my doorway holding a Red Bull and a grin. I need a line that makes them feel like we understand hospitals, he said, flopping into the chair across from me. Like something you'd say to your mom if she was scared and had to use a patient portal. I stared at the ceiling, then typed, care shouldn't feel like paperwork. He whistled. Okay, poet, that's good. He copied it into his doc. How do you do that? I live with a person who hates paperwork, I said, thinking of Zoe's crusade against forms that eat half a parent's lunch break. He stood, squeezed my shoulder. This is why we're unstoppable, Jay. It should have felt like teamwork. It did, for about a minute. The first red flag was small and stupid, the way most red flags are. 2 days later, Nina walked past my cube, stopped, and said, loved your line in the Aurora preface, Jason. Care shouldn't feel like paperwork. That's the kind of anchor a client remembers. My mouth opened. Thanks, I said, because that's what you say when your boss compliments you. But the smallest flicker went off in my head. I hadn't shared the draft with Nina yet. At lunch, I asked Tyler, did you send Nina the preface? Just to get her eyes on tone, he said between bites. She loved it, said it felt inevitable, whatever that means. I told myself it was fine. We're a team. Sharing drafts is normal. The brain starts looking for patterns once it smells smoke, though, and the smoke kept finding me. There's a copywriter at our firm named Priya Shah, sharp, funny, allergic to politics. She pinged me later that week. Walk with me to the coffee truck? On the sidewalk, she said it without preamble. I'm about to say something and you're going to want to think I'm petty, she said. I'm not. I just like sleeping at night. Okay. Nina asked me to wordsmith the risk mitigation section, she said. Said it was Tyler's draft. It wasn't his voice. It was yours. Your little what could sink us, how we patch it grid. He had it beat for beat. I felt my ears go hot. He and I work on those together, I said automatically. Priya tipped her head. Do you? I've only ever seen you with the grid. Just watch your stuff. That night at home, I stared at my laptop while Zoe made banana bread like it could fix the economy. "You're doing the face," she said, sliding me a slice. "What face?" "The face you make when you know something's off, but you want to be a nice guy about it." I told her about the line, the grid, Priya's warning. She listened the way she listens to parents talking about their kids. Gentle, but trying to pull real information out of the fog. "Do you think Tyler's trying to take credit?" she asked. "I think," I started, then stopped. The memory popped up uninvited. Sophomore year, Tyler fixing our group presentation by swapping out my slides and keeping my talking points. We'd laughed about it later because we got an A. "I think I don't want to think that," I said. The Aurora team met twice a week to prep. Nina ran it like a war room. Big screens, smaller egos. The client tour was scheduled, the RFP questions logged, the schedule pinned. Nina asked for a rehearsal deck by Friday. Tyler swung by my desk Thursday. "Hey, can I get the resource map and your risk section tonight? Just want to pull it all into one voice for the rehearsal." "I can send the map," I said. "Risk needs another pass." He pouted, joking. "Don't make me beg." "I'll send what I've got," I said, hating how apologetic I sounded for guarding my own work. At 10:52 p.m., I shared a draft of the risk register with him in a private drive folder. Big, red draft watermark, some blanks, my usual notes to myself in the margins like, "If we miss clinical validation, we're dead in the water." I watched the little status bar go, "Viewed, Tyler A." Then I closed my laptop and lay in bed staring at the ceiling shadows while Zoe breathed quietly beside me. Friday morning, rehearsal. Tyler was up front driving the deck. He's good in rooms, funny, easy, fills silence before it gets awkward. "Risk," Nina said, turning to the screen. Tyler clicked. Up came the grid. My grid. Same categories, same language. The margins had been cleaned. My note about being dead in the water had been replaced with, "If clinical validation slips, patient safety slips. We won't." "Strong," Nina said. "That's the tone." My mouth tasted like pennies. After rehearsal, I pulled Tyler into a huddle room. "We need to talk," I said, keeping my voice low. He flopped into a chair. "About the risk grid. If you're going to use my draft, just say it's ours." He made a face like I'd accused him of shoplifting gum. "It is ours. Dude, we've been doing this together for a decade. You changed my note and presented it as your section." He held up his hands. "Jason, come on. Nina doesn't care who wrote which line. She cares that the deck is tight. Don't get precious." It was such a tiny dismissal, but it landed like a slap. Don't get precious. As if asking not to be erased made me delicate. We went quiet on each other for 2 days. We were still in every meeting, still Jason and Tyler like one word, but there was a hum under everything now. I stopped leaving my notebook on my desk. I started sending myself PDFs of my drafts. I hated that I felt sneaky for wanting protection. The following week, Nina announced one-on-ones. "I'm meeting everyone who wants to lead Aurora. Come prepared with your vision and your plan." She looked around the room. 3 slots, 30 minutes each. Impress me. I signed up for Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Tyler picked Tuesday at 4 p.m. He did a little wish me luck drum roll on my desk on his way to his meeting. I wished him luck. It felt like muscle memory. That night, around 11:40, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. A shared doc notification lit the screen. Tyler A. commented on Aurora Risk JWV7.pdf. Half awake, half annoyed, I opened my laptop. He'd left a private comment on my PDF in Drive, like he thought he was still the only one with access. Swap care shouldn't feel like paperwork, for care is human. Paperwork is not if she pushes. Keep clinical validation line, Nina loved it. My stomach dropped. Why was he rehearsing lines from my PDF for his one-on-one? I couldn't sleep after that. I made tea, stared at my own reflection in the microwave door, and tried to talk myself down. Maybe he was just prepping. Maybe he wanted both of us to sound aligned. Maybe. Wednesday morning, I put on my only blazer that passes for grown-up and sat outside Nina's office with my notebook. Priya passed by, did a tiny double take, and sat next to me for a minute. "You look like you're about to ask for the nuclear codes," she said. "Feels like it," I said. She leaned in. "Say your own name in there." "You never do." "What?" "Stop saying we when it's you. We is how other people put their name on your work." Nina called me in. Her office has that clean, intentional feel. Plants that are somehow always alive. framed posters from our early days when $20,000 felt like a big invoice. She gestured to the chair. Walk me through your vision. I did the thing I'm good at. I talked about phase delivery that doesn't burn out dev. I talked about change management like it's the product we actually sell. I talked about why hospitals are allergic to vendors who sound like tech bros, and how we'd earn trust by making patient-facing flows so simple my dad could use them without swearing. When I finished, she smiled in that not unfriendly way she has when she's weighing 3 options and a secret fourth. You're steady, Jason, she said. Teams do well under steady. I wanted to ask if that meant anything. I didn't. I said thank you and left, heart doing an uneven skateboard down a set of stairs. At my desk, there was an email from Tyler. T, how'd it go? Me solid. Yours? Crushed it. She literally said, visionary. Lol. I stared at the word visionary until it went soft at the edges. The next morning, Rachel Kim from Operations, friend, teller of truths, found me in the kitchen refilling my mug. You okay? She asked. Define okay. She lowered her voice. I heard Nina ask Tyler to send over his original risk framework so she could show the execs. Did you send her yours? No. Rachel winced. You might want to, fast. Back at my desk, I opened the shared drive. There it was. Aurora Risk TIAFinal.pdf. I clicked. My grid stared back at me in a different font. I didn't march into Nina's office. I didn't blow up Tyler's Slack. I printed my versions, the time-stamped drafts, the comment where he told himself to keep my line, and I slid them into a folder. Zoe says I get quiet before I get serious. She's right. I walked home that night through slush and street salt, folder under my arm like a weird briefcase, and told her everything. You have 2 choices, she said, handing me a mug. You can hope it works out because you're good, or you can make sure it works out because you're prepared. I hate this, I said. I hate feeling like I'm plotting against my friend. You're not plotting, she said. You're drawing a boundary. 2 days later, Nina sent a calendar invite. Aurora lead announcement, Monday 9 a.m. The whole floor hummed. Tyler did that thing where he spun in my chair like we were still 22 and said, breakfast on me if it's me. Breakfast on me if it's you. Deal, I said, and meant none of it. Monday morning, the sky over Hennepin was a sheet of dirty glass. People crowded by the big screen with their mugs and their opinions. Nina walked up front, hands folded, eyes bright the way they get when she knows she's about to move the board around. Thank you for the work you've all put into this, she said. Aurora is a defining moment for us. After careful consideration, Tyler's knee bounced. I could feel it through the floor. I'm naming Tyler Ames as project lead. He exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for a week. Applause, polite and a little thin. He hugged me like we were still the same we. Friends first, he whispered. Right? Right, I said. My mouth did the smiling. The rest of me didn't. Nina turned to me in front of everyone. Jason, I want you as operations anchor. Make sure we actually ship what we promise. Operations anchor. The person who catches everything and then disappears so the drum solo can be loud. I nodded. You got it. Tyler spent the afternoon strolling, shaking hands, picking a new desk near the window like a parade route. I spent the afternoon assembling the kickoff plan he'd present tomorrow with my name on 2 slides and his on 20. At 6:13 p.m., when the floor finally emptied, I took out the folder. Drafts. Timestamps. The comment he left on my file in the middle of the night. Priya's note. Rachel's heads up. I put it all in order, slid it back into the folder, and stared at Nina's door. Part of me wanted to torch the whole thing, send the email, burn the bridge, enjoy the warmth. Another part of me, the part that's run 100 projects and learned where the real power sits, told me to wait one day. Let him present. Let the words I wrote come out of his mouth into a room full of witnesses. Then choose. I turned off my monitor, grabbed my coat, and walked into the Minneapolis cold. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Tyler. Dinner? Celebratory? Bring Zoe. I typed and deleted 3 replies. Finally, I sent me. Rain check. Big day tomorrow. Friends first, we'd said. Monday proved what order he put those words in. The next morning, Tyler showed up to the Aurora kickoff meeting like a celebrity on his victory lap. New shirt, sleeves rolled just enough to look creative. Coffee in hand from that expensive place across the street, but the kind with cups so minimal they just have a dot on them. He clapped me on the shoulder. Ready to make history, partner? I forced a smile. Always. The room filled up fast. Nina opened with the usual thank yous, goals, deadlines. Then she handed it over to Tyler, and I sat there watching him walk the team through his vision, bullet point after bullet point I'd written over the last month. He had the delivery down pat, pausing for emphasis, telling little stories, dropping those polished one-liners I'd spent nights coming up with. But what really got me, every time he hit one of my lines and the room reacted, he'd look right at Nina. Like he was making sure she saw him delivering the magic. Tyler and I used to bounce ideas around like ping pong balls. He'd throw something wild, I'd shape it, he'd polish it up, and we'd both feel proud of the final product. Now, there were no more late-night brainstorms, no more "what do you think of this" messages. Instead, he'd call last-minute huddles with select people, often without inviting me. I'd find out about them because I'd walk past a conference room and see him in there with Nina and a couple of execs, lights dimmed, projector on. When I'd ask later what it was about, he'd shrug. Just a quick alignment on messaging. Didn't want to waste your time. Waste my time? We were supposed to be co-pilots. One afternoon, I was in the kitchen pouring coffee when Rachel came in, phone pressed to her ear. She ended her call quick and looked at me. "You know he's been locking the Aurora folder, right?" she asked. I froze. Locking it? Yeah, he's set permissions so only he and Nina can edit the final deck. Everyone else is view only. That hit me harder than I expected. Sure, I still had my draft saved, but cutting me out of the main working file, that wasn't just about control. That was about erasing me from the process. The first big Aurora client check-in came 2 weeks into the project. It was virtual, with half the client's leadership team dialing in from different hospitals. Tyler insisted on presenting most of it himself, to keep the narrative consistent, he said. I sat in the corner of the conference room, muted on Zoom or off, watching him work the crowd. He was smooth, I'll give him that. But the moment that made my jaw clench, when he got to the risk mitigation section, my section, and read it word for word from my document. My phrasing, my examples, even my closing line, we plan for obstacles so we never have to stop for them. The client's COO smiled. That's a great line. Tyler smiled back. Thanks. That's how I like to think. That one little I was all it took for me to realize he wasn't just taking credit internally. He was rewriting history for the client too. But here's the thing about people who take credit for other people's work. Sooner or later, they slip. It happened in the next internal meeting. Tyler was showing the team a proposed feature for the patient portal. Something I'd only ever mentioned to him in a one-on-one chat late at night. I'd even sent him a quick sketch I made on a napkin and snapped with my phone. He was presenting the idea when Priya interrupted. Wait, didn't Jason bring that up in the early brainstorm? The room went quiet for half a second. Tyler laughed it off. Oh, yeah. He mentioned something similar. I just fleshed it out. That's when I saw it. The tiny shift in a few people's faces. They didn't fully believe him. That night, I started pulling together my own quiet folder of proof. Screenshots of my drafts with timestamps, the napkin sketch, emails where I'd sent him full sections before meetings. That comment he left on my private file the night before his one-on-one. I didn't know yet what I'd do with it, but I knew better than to go into a fight without evidence. Over dinner, I told Zoe what had been happening. She listened, nodded, and then said something I didn't want to hear. You're not just in a project war. You're in a story war. He's already telling people a version where he's the genius and you're the support guy. If you don't speak up soon, his version becomes the truth. She was right, and it scared me. The breaking point came in week 4. Tyler sent out a team-wide email announcing he'd be meeting with Aurora's board to personally walk them through his strategy. His strategy. No mention of me, no invite, no role. That was the moment I realized if I didn't step in soon, by the time this project wrapped, I'd be nothing more than a footnote in my own work. I wasn't ready to make my move yet, but I was close. I just needed him to hand me the perfect moment, something so undeniable, so public, that even Nina couldn't ignore it. And I had a feeling it was coming. When you're waiting for someone to mess up, it's like watching storm clouds gather. You can feel it coming, but you don't know exactly when or where the lightning will hit. For weeks, Tyler had been walking that thin line between team lead and credit thief. But the line broke at the Aurora board presentation. The board meeting was a big deal. Aurora's entire leadership team was flying into Minneapolis to see where their $2.3 million project was headed. It was supposed to be a joint presentation, Tyler covering vision and me covering execution. 2 days before, Tyler popped into my cube. "Hey man, I was thinking, might be smoother if I just do the whole thing. Keep the flow tight? You cool with that?" I wasn't. But saying no would make me look difficult in front of Nina, and Tyler knew it. "Fine," I said. "But make sure the execution plan's solid. They're going to drill you on timelines." "Got it," he said, already halfway down the hall. The morning of the meeting, I sat in the back of the conference room with a notepad, watching everyone shuffle in. Nina, a few senior designers, the Aurora board members. Tyler was up front, laptop connected, looking like he'd been born to stand in front of a projector. He started smooth, walking them through our big picture strategy. The board nodded, occasionally jotting something down. Then he moved into the execution plan. My execution plan. It wasn't just the timelines or the milestones. It was every line I'd written, every risk mitigation step, every workaround I'd built for potential delays. He even used my exact phrasing for the most important slide. "We plan for obstacles so we never have to stop for them." The COO smiled. "That's exactly the reassurance we needed." Tyler smiled back. "That's how I run a project." That was it, the lightning strike. Here's the part that sealed it. A board member asked about the patient portal features and how they'd integrate with existing systems. Tyler froze, just for a beat, but enough for me to see it. "That's a good question," he said, glancing down at his notes. "We, plan to." He stumbled over the next sentence, the same sentence I'd written in a draft he wasn't supposed to have. And in that moment, Nina's eyes flicked to me. Just for a second, like she'd realized he was leaning on work that didn't quite belong to him. After the meeting, while everyone else was shaking hands, Rachel came over. "You have that slide in your drafts, right?" she whispered. "All of them," I said. She nodded toward Nina, who was deep in conversation with Tyler. "Then you need to decide if you're going to let him write the ending to this story, or you're going to write it yourself." That night, I went home and opened my just in case folder. Every file, every timestamp, every email, laid out in order, from the first brainstorming notes to the most recent draft, the napkin sketch, the comment he left on my private doc. Zoe came into my office, leaned against the doorframe, and said, "You're ready." "I think I am," I said. I didn't want a messy blow-up. I didn't want to yell in the middle of the office or send an angry email to the whole company. I wanted the truth laid out in a way no one could spin. And I knew exactly when to do it. The next internal leadership meeting, when both Nina and Tyler would be in the room. The storm wasn't just coming anymore. It was already here. The leadership meeting was in one of those glass-walled rooms where you can see the whole floor. But once the door shuts, it's like you're in a fishbowl. Nina sat at the head of the table, laptop open. Tyler was 2 seats down from her, relaxed, scrolling on his phone. "All right," Nina said. "Let's review Aurora's progress and next steps." Tyler jumped in first, of course. He talked about momentum, morale, and his approach to keeping things on track. I let him go for a few minutes. Then, when he brought up my risk mitigation plan like it was his brainchild, I spoke. "Actually," I said, keeping my voice steady, "those frameworks are mine. I've got the drafts, timestamps, and original notes if anyone wants to see them." The room went still. Tyler gave a little laugh, the kind that's meant to make you seem harmless. "We've been collaborating on everything, man." I slid the folder onto the table. Collaboration's when you work together. This is when you take someone's work, strip their name off, and present it as yours. Nina glanced at the folder, then at me. "Jason, what's in there?" Every draft I sent Tyler. Emails showing he had access to my private files. The comment he left on my document the night before his one-on-one with you. Even the napkin sketch for the patient portal feature. Tyler's smile froze. "This is ridiculous." Nina held up her hand. "Let's all take a look before we decide what's ridiculous." 2 days later, Tyler wasn't in the Aurora Slack channel anymore. Nina called me into her office. She didn't apologize, not her style, but she said, We can't have leaders who blur lines like that. I've reassigned you as lead on execution and client relations. It's yours now. I walked out with the title Tyler had been parading around with, but without the friend I'd once thought I'd have for life. Tyler cleared out his desk a week later. He didn't look at me. Didn't say goodbye. I heard from Rachel he'd landed at another agency across town. Some family members and mutual friends tried to stay neutral. Others asked why I couldn't have handled it privately. But privately was exactly where Tyler had been winning. I had to put the truth in a room where it couldn't be ignored. I've thought about it a lot since then. Was it worth it? Losing a friend? Making waves? Yes. 100 times yes. Because if I'd stayed quiet, I'd still be sitting in the back of the room, watching someone else cash in on my work, and Tyler would know he could get away with it. Some people think standing up for yourself means starting a fight. It doesn't. It means refusing to be erased. Now, when I pass the glass-walled conference room where it all went down, I don't think about the tension. I think about the moment I slid that folder across the table and said, "Here's the truth." And I'm glad I went through with it. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. If you want to share your stories, please comment below. Additionally, what is your opinion on the poster's decision?